Oh Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is yet indeed another day, a new Sunday, a day that the Lord has made, that we should all be glad and rejoice in it. Today is yet another episode of health issues. Um, Today is a different day altogether, bringing to your doorstep with different topic hormonal balances. At the end of the day, we understand how our hormones affect the body and what we can do to balance it at all times. This afternoon, I have my brother as a guest with me. This afternoon is brother Emmanuel Quansah. Brother Quansah, you're welcome once again to Richmond Media.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Hanna. How are you?
I'm doing great by the grace, and you?
I'm also good. I'm enjoying that African taste you have on your dressing.
Oh,
Bravo.
thank you. It is just by the grace, though, through my late mom that I can, also I can feel her presence in me when I put these kind of things on myself.
Exactly. You have every reason to be proud of her.
Oh, yes, so proud. She has made
Yeah,
me this. Therefore, I do
that's right.
appreciate her, though she's not with us. But I
Hmm.
thank God that I came to this world through her. So, Mami Yetiwa Yamansa, may your soul continue to rest well. Amen.
Amen.
Yes,
Same to Abuna with my mom.
and yeah, thank you. To our viewers and listeners, we say you're welcome on board once again to Richmond Media, coming right to your doorsteps with health issues. We're giving you preventative measures of how you can survive. Also, creating awareness in this our modern world that there are so many illnesses and conditions, and it's easy to get yourself into it. But how can you balance your hormone in order to survive in this our present world? Brother Emmanuel, what
Yes,
is
madam.
hormone at all, if I may ask? Thank you. Or what
Greetings
are
once again.
hormones?
Greetings once again to our viewers. In fact, do you know that I am teaching exactly this topic to my students in the nursing and
Oh, that
midwifery
is
training school?
great then.
Yes, and it's one of the topics. After discussing this with my students, I became very emotional
It is great to have you. God works in a mysterious way that we cannot understand Him. Only Himself can let us understand His purpose. It looks like we are not hearing you. Can you hear me, please? No, your voice is not coming at all. Brother Quansah will join us as soon as possible, ladies and gentlemen. Mostly when we are connecting from Ghana, it's not easy, so please bear with us. Brother Quansah, can you hear me, please? Hello? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We are trying hard to get him back as soon as possible. So please bear with us. It's just unfortunate that from the beginning of the program, this is happening. Sometimes we get to a certain point before this happens, but today is one of the days. I'm sure he will join us as soon as possible. So please bear with us. Don't leave. We are with you. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it is not easy to. Um, we are still connecting to get Brother Quansah on board. Oh, Brother Quansah, you back. Thank you for coming back. Can you hear me, please? Can you hear me, Brother Quansah? We cannot hear you. Can you hear me? No, I can't hear you as well. No. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We'll join. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're still trying our best to have Brother Quansah back on board. Please bear with us. Can we?
Yes, madam.
Oh, thank you so much for coming back. Yeah. So, what are hormones, if I may ask,
Hormones.
please?
I was trying to use this avenue to praise God on how wonderful the way He created hormones. Hormones actually are chemical mediators. They are those substances that are chemically manufactured by certain organs in the body, and these hormones mainly function as mediators. They communicate with other organs. Back in the olden days, where people talk to people on at different areas through different means. For example, he will pick a bird and then put something at the feet, or put it on the beak, and the bird will fly and carry that message written or scripted down something to that place, and the person will act. The same way is how hormones also operate. There are some chemical mediators produced by specific organs in the body, and these hormones are released in the bloodstream, and the blood carries these chemicals onto the actual target organ, and then they tell the organ to do this and do that and do that. So hormones simply are chemical communicators that tells organs or some part of the bodies their duties that they are supposed to conduct. They either make them increase their work or make them reduce their work, just to maintain the normal balance of the normal body's physiological activities in you. That is how simple I can talk about hormones. Yes.
Thank you so much. What is the relationship between the endocrine system and um, hormone production?
Through the endocrine system, the body is able to communicate with all other parts of the bodies, all the primary systems. So the endocrine system is serving as a link for other parts of the body to communicate. For example, as I'm speaking with you right now, my endocrine system is at work, my nervous system is at work, my cardiovascular system is at work, muscular system, all other areas of my body are functioning. And thank God for the endocrine system. Without that, the part will never function. Very, very, very powerful system that we cannot underplay or downplay at all. Very, very important. Yeah.
Thank you so much, my brother. Ladies and gentlemen, we are blessed to have our brother Akon with us this afternoon. Brother George, you're welcome once again to Richmond Media.
Thank you.
We've reached a point of what hormones are and the relationship between hormones and the hormones production and the endocrine system. Just about to move to the next question as how or what is the hormone balance? I don't know if you want to add something to it or Brother Quansah, now that you are two, that's what I usually do. I don't point who has to go first or choose who has to go first and second. Which one of you is ready first can just go. Thank you.
Okay. So, as I was saying earlier on, these hormones, they are very, very important in the body. And as I started, I talked about the fact that they actually are relevant to be made in balance. One typical example, if it not being hormones, our bodies cannot function. If it's not hormones, we wouldn't see Mama Hannah your natural feminine features. It's because of hormones. I will not see George exhibiting all the features of a man. That is hormones. And all these things come into play needs to be made into balance. God always work in moderation. The body function in the normal balanced or equilibrium in everything that it does, and that is called homeostasis. And so when we talk about hormonal balance, we want to say that the body ensures that whatever it is producing, it is in its optimal level that the body will tolerate and will be able to function. If it exceeds above normal, it becomes a problem. And if it goes below, it's also a problem. Let me give a typical example. There is a condition in the endocrine system called gigantism. I don't know if you've heard about that. In gigantism, when we look at your bone, there is an area called the epiphysis, and those areas are parts where you have growth hormones that are settling on it. When you have an exceedingly high amount of growth hormones falling on that long bone, it causes your long bone to be elongated beyond limit, and so at a very young age, 10 years, and you'll be so tall. At the same manner or in the same way, if you have little amount of hormones being deposited at that place too, then you will have what we call dwarfism. It means you are unable to grow. So here, the body works in such a way that it balances the normal limits or optimal amount of growth hormones so that you will achieve the normal or the standardized height that your body needs. And that is one typical example of hormonal balance, my sister.
Thank you so much, Brother Kwanzaa. As I think Brother George is not available, so we will continue. So, what are
Okay.
some of the examples of hormones and its functions, please?
Oh, thank you very much for this question. There are so many different hormones. One of them I'll talk about is a very important hormone called thyroid hormone. The thyroid hormone is a hormone produced by the thyroid gland. This gland is located in front of your trachea, your windpipe, and it produces this thyroid hormone. And this hormone is basically useful in your all metabolic activities. When I say metabolism, it's actually the sum total of these your cells need to generate energy before they can function. And this thyroid hormone produces the hormones are produced that will enable your cells to function, to generate more energy for you to function. So if you see somebody who is always not active, very slow, like moody and gaining too much weight, think about low thyroid hormones. On the other side, if you see somebody so hyperactive, sweating profusely, that he eats a lot but does not gain weight, think about high amount of thyroid hormones. We have another type of hormone known as calcitonin. It's also produced by the thyroid gland. There is a behind the thyroid gland, there is another gland known as parathyroid hormone. And this hormone is also there. So the calcitonin is useful for controlling the amount of calcium in your blood. Calcium is very important, but when it exceeds its limits, it creates a whole lot of problems, kidney stones and the others. And so, if your body detects that you have a large amount of calcium in your blood, calcitonin is released to capture all the calcium concentration in your blood and deposit them in your bones. We also have other hormones like the testosterone and the estrogen, and that is the one that accounts for the natural masculine secondary sexual features. When a child is getting to adolescent stage, you will see the changes, the enlargement of the breast, the positions of fats at the various areas. You see the cheek looks smoother and looks more attractive. You see, like yours, you have all those, your cheeks looking so nice. You see,
Oh,
as they
really?
grow, yes, yes, yes. As they grow, you see that their chest changes. Their chest changes from being flat to more rounded and attractive. They have their breast enlarging. You see, in those days when we were kids, or the girls were kids, 8 years, 5 years, they will be playing outside. And when they start getting to 13, 14, they start increasing the production of estrogen, and they get wider hips, and they start becoming very cautious of their appearance. When they stand in the mirror, they feel so proud. The hips are widening, the buttocks are very getting bigger. And thank God for estrogen for this. Menstruation, body ready for reproduction, pregnancy, all these are because of estrogen. And the men, likewise, we have testosterone also there. That actually makes you show your masculine features. You have those muscles, you have those voice box breaking, and if I'm able to produce children, produce enough testes, what do you call it, produce enough semen or sperm to impregnate a woman, that makes me a man. And thank God for the hormone known as estrogen. There are so many hormones, and they play very, very important function. Insulin is also there. When we want to talk about control of blood glucose level, insulin plays a very vital role, because if you are not able to have a good control of sugar, insulin is not functioning well, people will start suffering from diabetes and then other comorbidities. So these are some of the examples of hormones. That there are so many of them, but time will permit me to mention some of these. I'm sure along the line we can get more, or Brother George can also add more as well.
Thank you. Brother George, you want to add something to it, or you're okay for us to move on?
Okay, we can move on because he has rightly mentioned most of them, from the sex hormones then to the other hormones. So it significantly tells us all that for these chemical messengers that we call hormone to be able to achieve a target, then when it's in its balanced form, you will not have disease. But when it's either high or low, then we have the imbalance. And when there is hormonal imbalance, most of us we are not able to sleep well. Why? Because the hormone that needs to regulate our sleep, we have violated it due to certain
That's
things
right.
is low. Therefore, we are built up on only sleeping tablet, taking sleeping tablet. Meanwhile, we have a hormone that regulates our sleep. For as he was mentioning, any part of any activity that our body will embark on needs a hormone, which is a chemical messenger. And for it to also release to a target area, it needs to pass through the gland. So it means it needs a linkage, a passageway that needs to pass through. So I will just add the sleeping aspect also to it, in addition to the sex hormone. As we move on, I know we will be coming out with so many things. Thank you.
Thank
That
you.
is
I
very
think
fantastic.
you have
Very, very nice.
already dipped into the um, hormonal imbalances. So, what are the causes of hormonal imbalance, please?
Okay, I will start by saying that when you take, let's say, I'm coming from the sex hormones, for example. The sex hormone, we mean that the features that the hormone that will let you know, as Mr. Quansah was rightly explaining, that this one is a female or this one is a male, things are equal, is the sex hormone. So for the women, we have the estrogen and the progesterone. Estrogen will come and play a role by lining your womb, so that a fertilized egg that will be released can get a God prepared mat to sleep on. Now, when its time is due, another hormone needs to come on. That's called the progesterone. When the progesterone is also at its time, and the egg that was released was able to meet a sperm, then it will help with activation of more blood supply to that mat that the estrogen laid. Then it will combine together and pregnancy will be in place. But in a case where the egg was not able to meet any sperm or any sperm from a man, progesterone will be released, but because it did not come to meet anything meeting with the egg, it will not activate more blood vessels to that area. Then it will begin to die off. Then during the month, you get what we call menses. It will come off so that another mat will be laid. When you are having hormonal imbalance in this, you have menstrual pains. You have what we call the ovarian cysts. You have what you see every month is where an egg is being released. So if this month the egg is released from the right side and you were doing an error, so you were feeling some pains at the right side, you realize that when your menses is over, you are relieved, you think you are okay. The following month it will release from the left side, so you feel the pains at the left side. Then you will say, this month there is my left side, it's another ovarian cyst. Then so over time you see that they are diagnosing you with polycystic ovarian syndrome. And now let's look at this hormonal imbalance. One effect is the fibroid. You see, it's like you get in one room, then you buy two let's say two length carpets to lay in one room. What happens is that you then fold the remaining. Same occurs when estrogen is overproduced. This hormonal imbalance will lead to what we call the fibroid. So most of our dear ladies who are having this fibroid issue is due to hormonal imbalance. But one of the causes, things that affect the liver, because the liver being an organ, one of its work is to regulate the sex hormones. And if you are doing things that is affecting the liver, one, you are not drinking enough water. Two, you are taking in refined sugar or refined sugar. Three, you are taking in processed food. So, our dear women watching that and listening to us, you realize that a month that you did not drink enough water, when you are urinating, when you are menstruating, you see how painful it is, and the color, how dark it is. And the month that you take in more animal product, you see how offensive it is. It clearly tells you that the liver, which is supposed to regulate the activities of the sex hormone, has been interfered. And when that continues, it will lead to hormonal imbalances, especially and specifically to the sex hormone. In addition to the insulin my brother mentioned, because the liver needs to come and help with the combination of with the release of albumin to be able to transport the insulin to take the glucose from the blood into the cells. But if the liver is being impaired, that's why people, because of hormonal imbalance again, can get diabetes. I'll rest here for my boss to also continue. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a
Brother
beautiful.
Quansah. Yeah.
Adding more to that, I would want to say that there are so many other factors that we've talked about. So he has been talking about lifestyle. Very, very important points that he has established. Lifestyle is a very key issue that affects hormonal imbalances. I would also be adding some medications we take. For example, these drugs that helps in as contraceptives. In the sexual hormone area, people do not want to get pregnant, and so they take in drugs that will alter their hormonal status so that they will inhibit getting pregnant. And when it happens like that, when they use it chronically, it affects the balance of their hormonal system, and then getting children becomes a problem. Sometimes too, other diseases like tumors, cancers,
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that is normal with us, especially when we are connecting from Ghana. Sometimes it's not easy. So bear with us. Brother Akon has already taken us through.
Okay,
Brother
so
Kwanzaa
let me
wanted to
continue
add
from.
some to it.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
let me continue from his place.
Thank
So you
you.
see that we are talking about hormonal imbalance. So most of our dear women, the unfortunate aspect is that some are not into a family, but they are taking birth control pills. Meanwhile, they are not married, but they want to plan their family planning. And some of the contraceptives are part or have effect on your hormones. When it happens like that, you see that there is a hormonal imbalance here. Another aspect that I also want to talk about currently is how we are using chemicals in growing our foods. chemicals in growing our foods have effects on our hormonal issues. He has come, so let me give him the room to continue.
Thank
Okay,
you.
okay, thank you very much. I had an interruption and I am back. Thank you. Like you were saying, I started talking about these drugs, these quick contraceptives after sex. They just don't want to go for them and those stuff. I have seen countless number of women who come to my hospital and they are seriously desperate for a child. And I will just go on with their gynecological history. I ask them, they tell you, oh, I remember when I was young, I was taking in a lot of these emergency contraceptive pills just to make sure that I don't get pregnant. And now they have done some can put that thing on for like some are not those ones that are long term. They take it for like 5 years, 3 years, some even 10 years. And now that they want to get a child, they expect it to happen so quickly for them. The body will need to go back and then maintain the balance before you get normal. And other thing is also stress. Stress really affects your hormonal system. When you are stressed up, there are levels or organizational structures of your hormonal system. For example, you go into your brain, we have your hypothalamus. It controls the function of the pituitary gland. And when you are stressed out, your hypothalamus cannot function well. And when it happens like that, the maintenance of the balance of the hormonal system is affected. So, for example, I'm sure those who get early pregnant, they get married, and your ASIL will start. ASIL, when am I seeing you, my girl? Stressed. When am I seeing my grandchild? Stress. A lot of financial issues and all those things affect people. I have had countless number of clients who come with these issues. And I love that statement from Isaiah. He says, you barren woman, you need a child. Be happy. Sometimes when you are not happy, your system of the hormonal system becomes so disorganized that it doesn't function well. So whenever you are happy with your system, then there will be a balance that you would need. Another important thing is our diet. Our diet. Our diet is also a very important thing that my brother George started talking about the diet, and diet play a very key role in the things that affect our hormonal system. Like he mentioned, the sugar that we are taking in, the refined foods and all those stuff are very, very crucial in our lives. And then if you are not careful, all these things can affect you very much. We have radiation exposure to some radiation also can cause overgrowth of some of the cells of the gland. For example, in your pituitary gland, if it's affected by radiation, it starts producing large amounts of these pituitary stimulating hormones. For example, we have the thyroid stimulating hormones and other hormones. If they are affected like that by radiation and other form of diseases, it produces too much or too low, and it affects your system very, very much. Exposure to certain chemicals like weedicides, pesticides, and all these things go a long way to affect our systems. And these things, we often neglect them, but they are very, very serious. That is affecting.
Thank you so much, Brother Quansah and Brother George, for giving us this. If that is the case, then how can we know the signs and symptoms for hormonal imbalance?
Okay, George.
Okay, so some of the signs of hormonal imbalance. One, whenever you are there and you are not able to sleep well, it's a sign of hormonal imbalance. That's number one. Number two, you realize that you are a male, but you have breasts like a female. And if you are not careful and we are just picturing you from your top, we will count you among females. It's a sign of hormonal imbalance. Then you are a female, but you realize that you are growing beard like the males. It's a sign of hormonal imbalance. Whenever you are having menstrual menstrual related issues, they are mostly signs of hormonal imbalances, and that can also lead to the infertilities and those RNS. So it's also some of the signs. Another sign that we can talk about is we have a hormone that needs to regulate our insulin. So our glucose and insulin release and its regulation. So when your sugar is too high, it tells you that there's a hormonal imbalance in some system that we need to also have a look at. So these are some of the signs that I can mention that when you are seen visibly, it tells you that you are at risk, or where what you are passing through, some are signs of hormonal imbalances. Then you need to also dive deeper to know how to recover from such issues.
In addition
Thank
to
you
that,
so much.
I would also say that uh, people should start taking note of certain things. Some doctors are unable to identify these things because they don't often concentrate on these hormonal aspects. When you are gaining weight abnormally,
Sure.
and you realize you are not eating, but you are gaining weight, think about your hormonal system. When you are losing weight, but you are eating a lot, think about your hormones. When you are so hyperactive, so hyperactive, you know, there are some people. I'm going to do something on the screen, don't laugh. You see some people having this eyeball bulging like that, the eyeball is coming out. It's called exophthalmia. That is a very crucial thing. It's called it means your thyroid gland is overworking, and it is very crucial. Sometimes they can sweat profusely, a lot of times, hormonal imbalance, all these things. Sometimes too, their moods will start swinging. Very, very important. Hormonal imbalances. Even men, when they start thinking about their potency, when your potency starts going down, think about your hormonal system. You're not able to achieve adequate erection. It's also about your hormones. Sometimes when you have too much, sometimes you may not be suffering from an imbalance per se, but rather the receptors that are supposed to be binding with the hormones have been defected because of excess amount of fat. You have developed a lot of fat in your body that is making your system not responding to those hormones. You know, the hormones are like messengers, and they come to be received by those receptors on the cells. And if the receptors are not binding well, probably because you have so much fat on your system, it actually affects those stuff. That is where we have diabetes type 2, like my brother George talked about. And then
So you realize that with the insulin regulation, when we are saying the hormone is a chemical messenger that needs to go to its target. But you see, as he was saying, the target, by going to a target, there is a distractor, and that distractor is fat. So most people they are having this issue as a result of fat. So whenever you are being obese, think about that. And whenever you are also, you think you are eating, but you are growing lean. Not that you are exercising, you are growing lean, but you are eating. That's also a form of hormonal imbalance. And you know the hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism that he was mentioning. So whenever you are seeing a development starting from your throat in a form of goiter, it tells you that there is a hormonal imbalance somewhere. So you need to prove further so that we can be able to achieve the exact cause and overcome it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother George, for taking us this far. I don't know if you'll be able to finish the topic for today. We're just trying to let's see how we can make it. So, what are some of the diagnostic investigations of hormones or hormonal imbalance?
Okay. So our viewers and our listeners, when we talk about the imbalance, it means that it's either too high or too low. So some of the investigation, your physical appearance. So when you see me, then you see me that I'm a male, but I'm developing breast like a female. My body language and everything resembles a female. Clinically, my physical appearance tells me that I had a hormonal imbalance. When you see a female who is developing beard, he's having that muscular type. If you are not careful, the way he will beat you, that also tells you that it's a sign of hormonal imbalance. Then you prove further to do certain labs that when you go hormonal balancing test, we have various aspects of it. It can be able to tell you this your hormone is okay, or this one is high or too low. the semen analysis if you're having the sperm issues, and that, like as he was mentioning, you go and do semen analysis so that we will see either too high, too low. Either too high, what should we do? Then we know. If you're having menstrual pains and those things, you go. An investigation that we will embark on, we will do that, the hormonal test. Then we do the scan as well to know either there's an overgrowth that is causing the menstrual pains or whatever. So depending on your presenting complaints can also prove further to also look at another investigations that we will recommend based on the prescriber you have seen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother George. Indeed, it's a good time to have you as a rescue for this program today. What are effects or the effects of hormonal imbalance?
Okay, so the effect, some of the effects of hormonal imbalance. So the consequences of hormonal imbalance for the women, when it comes to the sex hormone, we are taking that you can have a fibroid, you can have infertility issues. Same to our men, they will not have fibroid, but they can also have infertility issues. Then effect again, you can get certain conditions like the goiter, like the diabetes type 2. You can have sleeping related issues. You can have mental mood swings as it affects, because people are coming, then because you are having imbalance with your mood, you where to laugh you are crying, where to cry you are laughing, and depression. So mental issues are there in addition to the other medical conditions. These are some of the simple or minor effects that we can talk about.
Thank you so much. Finally, how can we naturally prevent hormonal imbalance, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
The remedy is very simple, or the activities is very simple. Note yourself. We start from the pregnant women. You see that because you are eating things that you are not supposed to eat, you are doing some lifestyle that you are not supposed to eat. When you give birth, your child starts to suffer from hormonal imbalance from the onset. So you see, for example, if you are pregnant and you give birth to a female, at the 4th month, at the end of the 4th month, the ovaries, the eggs that your daughter needs to get throughout its entire life will have finished preparing, just to come and for it to grow and be releasing. So if you are not eating well from the pregnant state, you affect your unborn child. So we need to take note. Pregnancy care, don't joke with it, as some people took us through. The next aspect is that you see the sleep hormones. Be exposing yourself to the sun. Whenever you expose yourself to the sun, what happens is that it will be charging your sleep hormone. So whenever you enter a dark room, your sleep hormone will be reactivated. That explains why when we switch off light, most people do sleep than when the light is on. So the melatonin that regulates your sleep hormone, it gets its charger from the sun. Expose yourself to adequate sun so that you'll be able to get that hormone that regulates your sleep. And those having that mental and depression issues, allow them to be walking in the sun. Early morning exposure to the sun will help regulate that hormone. So these are some of the natural. Then we go to the food, diet aspect. So with the dietary aspect, make sure that your foods are not processed to burden the liver. Make sure your foods are not processed to increase your weight or increase the fat within you. Make sure you drink a lot of water, adequate water intake, so that your liver will get its strength to be able to be regulating the hormones that it needs to also help with, because one of its function is to regulate hormone. Then depending on your locality or your country you find yourself, be eating variety of your leaves there. Let your food be mostly from plant source, so that it can help reverse most of these conditions. Note the exact problem. Most people, they are not searching for the cause, but because they are having menstrual pains, they are not able to sleep. If they are not able to sleep, sleeping tablet. If they are having menstrual pains, painkiller. But they are forgetting about the other things. Then those of us who are not having family, but we are planning family with the birth control pills, let's avoid them. And those who have family, make sure you seek a helpful counseling with your provider to guide you on how to space up your children, rather than going for these chemicals And at the end, you see, when you are menstruating now, people are not buying pad, they are now wearing pampers because of this hormonal plan that they went to take. So since we are still at the preventive measures, I'll end here for my boss to also add up to it.
I don't know. I may say something you have already emphasized, but
No problem.
since my network went offline,
Sure.
I'm sure you have talked about diet.
Sure.
And nowadays, let me say this: when food industries become business, we have a problem.
Exactly.
I repeat, whenever the food industries, those who are feeding the society, the masses, always look about profits within the shortest time, that is our problem now. And some years ago, Miss Margaret Chan, one of the former directors of World Health Organization, said this categorically clear that we are killing ourselves from the poultry farming, animal husbandries, and all those people. They have started injecting those hormones into the animals for them to grow rapidly, because we know that some of these hormones make the animals grow faster, and when they grow fast, they meet market. They are not thinking about the health and well-being of the people. They are rather thinking about their pockets. And when that happens, and they are able to win the support of politicians, and they are able to satisfy or certify policies that will support their business, we are doomed. And that is what we are going through: high incidence of breast cancers and other problems, bone defects, and all other issues associated with them. People who are becoming so hyperactive, attention deficit disorders, all these things are affecting us because of diet. And we have to be very careful. Another thing we have to do to balance our hormonal system, perhaps you might have said it, I don't know, exercising. Exercising is very, very important. Improving your circulation. Sometimes one of the problems that actually causes your hormones not to function, probably circulation, you have a problem. The hormones are well produced, but they need a very viable blood, very fluid enough to flow, not so viscous, but able to flow enough to carry those hormones to their targets. But unfortunately, they are not getting where they are supposed to go because we are having too much thick blood which cannot circulate very well, and that delays a lot of metabolic activities. And so if you have a lot of weight gain, please let's start working on them, controlling them, and that will also help very much. I'm sure George has talked about maintaining a more plant-based diet and a natural diet. That one helps you so much, so much. I can talk about this president Bill Clinton. I don't know, Bill Clinton, he was a great advocate of going natural, fresh, everything natural, no animal products. And he was able to solve a lot of problems that were associated with hormonal imbalances and other associated comorbidities with cardiovascular disease and all others. In fact, anytime a part of your system is affected, take note, your hormonal system becomes affected because it works throughout your part of the body. It is connected. And so we have to always take note of that. Early morning sunlight, very good in balancing specifically your melatonin. George talked about the hormone that regulates your sleep, and it's very, very important. Melatonin production is highly influenced by the presence of vitamin D, and we have known scientifically that one of the very good source of this vitamin D is sunlight. Early morning sunlight helps improve that melatonin levels and improves your sleep. Please, if we are fond of taking in a lot of caffeinated beverages, we are supposed to be very careful with those stuff because they are addictive. And if, as they are addictive, they trigger your kidneys, they are a suprarenal gland, to produce a lot of the corticosteroids. And these corticosteroids makes you always hyper alert, on the go, and you become addicted. You can't stop, especially the drivers. The influx of high intake of these energy drinks, a lot of problems. It's affecting our productivity, our strength, and our energy. And so we need to work on that also if you want to balance your hormone. One important thing you have to do, very common, is rest. We always need to establish adequate rest for our bodies. If we are able to rest well, you do not release a lot of stress hormones in your system. And when you have enough rest, you are going to be stress free. And it is going to affect even your sexuality. I'm sure this program will really help people who are suffering from issues on sexuality and those who are doing transgender. George, have you talked about them? Mama Hannah?
Not yet. Not yet.
Transgender is another whole problem. Anytime human beings try to think they are God, catastrophic.
Can we have a
They are
topic
trying to.
on that one on its own?
Possibly, yes. So let me just talk about this a little. We are having high incidence of suicide because men who are supposed to maintain their hormonal system as men are now thinking they are women. And so they are injecting within themselves hormones of women. And remember, estrogen affects our thinking, and the way you think will make you different. And so you are injecting chemicals that are making you different from who you are. And it creates a whole lot of confusion in the mind. And the studies are bringing out a lot of cases of suicide. Those who are doing those transgender stuff are getting confused. Their thinking is not so straight, and it's affecting their mind, and they are killing themselves. Why? They are changing something God has done, and they are not conforming to God's principles on health. When you change your nature, gender, it affects your hormonal system. And so they will be falling on artificially manufactured hormones and injecting themselves, and they are causing a lot of problems. And we will talk so much about this. I know these things will meet a lot of backlash online, but
Challenges, yeah.
truth be told, truth be told, we will save a lot of lives when we talk about this. And this lesson is a very important one, hormonal balance. It's actually an issue people are
You,
neglecting, and we
you
need
know
to talk
what we
about it.
can do? We can have hormonal imbalance next week. So we can bring all those things to
Yes,
complete the whole topic. I think that
that
will
is
be very,
very,
very
very fine.
great. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean those watching us. I know I have gentlemen at the studio.
Yeah.
It is our time is fast spent. For us to summarize everything, we will do that next week. So don't forget to join us. We had our sister Christiana Sapon with us, and then our brother Efriye as well was with us, said hi. Forgive us, we couldn't acknowledge or recognize you earlier due to our time factor. We will definitely have you early, acknowledge you early next week, and whoever joins us, whoever is watching us or listening to us that we are not able to mention your name, please forgive us. Possibly next week everything will be smoothly, and then I think the program was getting to the sweetest part of it. I'm enjoying it. I'm very sure that you might have also been enjoying it, but for us to get the full enjoyment of it, don't forget to watch us the same time again next week at 3 o'clock. Now, UK and Ghana, same time. That is very, very good news. It's God that made the time, but man decides to change the time
Manipulate.
at some point. But now we are still
This
back
one too is
again.
hormonal imbalance. So.
Exactly.
Hormonal imbalance.
Timely imbalance. So please, and the other parts of the continent is also have different times. So wherever you are, just convert the time to UK or Ghana time, and we shall meet again the same time next week at 3 o'clock. At the studio are my handsome gentleman. I nearly imbalanced my statement by bringing in different, but I, my handsome gentleman, which is Mr. Akon George and Mr. Emmanuel Quansah, and the same team again next week. We shall meet you health issues at Richmond Media. Thank you so much. My name is Hanna Bimah.
Uma onça sua, subir Giant